It's time for Alvin Henderson to flip to Auburn.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday. That is him, the guy with the massive head. He is the Auburn message board legend.
It's because my brain's so big.
Also the host of the Top Button podcast. We'll talk about who we think is going to fill out the running backs class for Auburn in 2025. Also, who could be the next to commit to Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. But Charlie5, it's time. It's time for Alvin Henderson to flip from Penn State to Auburn. Nobody's buying his commitment. Nobody bought it when he originally committed to Penn State. It's time for him to flip back to the Tigers.
It's about that time. It's about that time. Auburn needs him. Auburn has continued to show him that they want him in this class, and you got to have that skill set type back. We need two backs in this class. You need a smaller back.
Right.
And it just makes sense. It's time. It's time to go ahead, quit fooling around with Penn State. You're from Elba, Alabama. You're not going to Penn State. You need to just go ahead and pull the trigger and make it happen.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we talked about this a little bit towards the end of last week with Auburn putting a little bit of pressure on Juju. Do you think there's any pressure behind the scenes with Hugh Freeze and the staff saying, like, Alvin, like, because I know Alvin has a better relationship with the Auburn coaching staff than he does the Penn State coaching staff. I mean, do you think it was a thing, or it will be a thing, where they say, Alvin, look, what are we doing here? You're here all the time. What are we doing?
I don't think so, because I don't think that kind of stuff works with Alvin. I think what you got to do is you got to bring in running backs. You got to bring in running backs and show them, basically show him that, hey, look, we're going to have to take one of these guys if you don't hurry up and make up your mind.
Yeah.
I think it may be working. I think he may be trying to, figure out a way to get back in the good graces and get in this class. And I think it's the right time to go ahead and do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. And I think it's a good point as far as probably not putting pressure on Alvin, because I mean, every kid's different. Every recruitment is so different. I think this coaching staff gets that better than most other staffs, which is incredible, which is great. And we're starting to see really the benefits of that. We've talked about it before. Alvin Henderson is a great running back. But on the other side of, like, there's a lot of really good running backs out there. And so I'm sure they're having the conversation of, like, okay, this might be the NIL valuation for these running backs. Like, at what point is it worth it? Well, at what point is a guy worth way more than the other when there are so many talented running backs?
Yeah. So a couple things on Alvin. Number one, like you just said, running backs are I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but you can get a good running back.
You can find a good running back. Though.
You can get a good one out of the portal. You can find good running backs. So I'm not saying that to belittle Alvin, but I'm saying, like, you need to push for this kid, because even if he gets here and he's as flaky on campus as he was as he's been during the recruitment, you can replace him. But I feel like you still need to push for him, because Hugh is really big on perception and really big on perception in state. And this is another top 11, 12 player in the state. And it's a big deal to go ahead and land this kid. So you're patient with him, but because I feel like it's really not that big of a risk. And I don't want people to try to, like, act like, I don't know. I think it's because you're scared you might get hurt, or you're scared whatever. So they try to downplay about, like, how important Alvin actually is. He's an important kid of the class. I mean, he's rushed for like almost 8,000 yards in his high school career.
Yeah.
Okay. You can bang on the competition, but he dominates the competition. I mean, he ran for like 3,500 yards.
Yeah, he does everything you would want him to do against, smaller competition. There's no doubt about it. And you're right about the perception thing, because I think it almost falls on Alabama too. It's like, if you let a kid from Elba go to Penn State, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, you're right. He's the number 3 player in Alabama according to Rivals. He's the number 6 player in Alabama according to ESPN. All 3 has him at 12. 247 has him at the 17th ranked player. The composite has him at 13. But regardless, perception is everything. in recruiting, good or bad. And you need as many top players in the state as possible so you can run with the messaging, whether it's your social media team that's doing it, whether it's your fan base that's doing it. It doesn't matter. There's going to be a message out there that said, hey, Auburn owned the state of Alabama in recruiting in 2025, and they've got a great chance to do it in 2026 as well. And Alvin Henderson is a huge part of that.
Absolutely. And you never know, like Alvin Henderson, the player, may not be the same guy as Alvin Henderson, the recruit. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be. Like you got to understand, small town guy, I've got a ton of attention, ton of opportunities.
Can you imagine what he's going through?
Yeah,
This isn't a normal thing for him.
No, absolutely not. And him getting here, that could be that could be the difference. I mean, it could be a completely different thing. And the thing is, if it works out, he's talented. That's the bonus.
So he's so good.
But if he doesn't, you can find another running back. Like you can add another running back through the portal. They're out there to be had.
What's the timeline for Alvin flipping from Penn State to Auburn? Is there one? Does he have until December, or is there more urgency than that just because Auburn is eventually going to start adding running backs?
I think it's got to be quick because I believe it. You say his name's Dwayne Morris came in. He's a USC commit.
It's spelled Daune. So I hope we're pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, it could be Dawn, but I think it's got to be. I think it's Dwayne. But regardless,
if you know, please let us know because I want to say his name correctly.
Smaller but explosive running back, and he came in this weekend, had a great time. The coaches love him. I mean, that could take Alvin's spot. Now they could just go ahead. They could say, I like this kid so much, I'm going to take 3 running backs, but you got to feel like there's a big back and a small back. And if you've got the momentum with this kid that came in here this past weekend, the clock's ticking, Alvin. Like you gotta be able to, you better go ahead and pull the trigger, or you're going to be, you're going to be going up north, or you're going to be settling for somewhere you probably don't want to go.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, Alvin could be a part of this class by the end of the month. I mean, we don't know, or it could be by the end of July. Maybe it's part of Big Cat. I mean, there's some things now that I think there's more folks committed to Auburn that are public, and I think they're being strategic with when stuff is announced. Do they want to save stuff till Big Cat? Do they want to slowly let it bleed out leading up to Big Cat? I don't know. Alvin could be a part of that, Charlie5. Like, we don't fully know.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think they're going to bleed it out because at the end of this weekend, this coming up weekend, is a dead period starts. So all the buzz that Auburn had, if nothing happens in between then and Big Cat weekend, it sort of dies down.
Good point.
So if you can bleed out commits over the next 4 or 5 weeks leading up to Big Cat, it kind of keeps you in the news headlines, and I think it would benefit Alvin to go ahead and jump on that train.
Let's predict who could be all of Auburn's running backs in the 2025 class. A lot of good options. We'll discuss that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. Charlie5, can you imagine being over hiring or maybe even owning a small business?
Oh, yeah.
And saying, I'm just going to go get a bum.
I won't do it.
No.
Will not do it.
No, but if you're like, I want to hire a winner,
I want
somebody who's prepared, I want a 5-star. Where are you going?
LinkedInjobs.com.
LinkedInjobs.com. That's right. /LockedOnCollege. They've got everything that you need as far as setting up screening tools. They've got like things that can help you write the job itself. I mean, they've got it to where it really streamlines the process. If you wanted to guess, Charlie5, what percentage of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours on LinkedIn?
Gosh, don't put me on the spot. I mean, I want to say 100. I want to say 100%.
Well, it's pretty much 100. It's 86%. So, I mean, that's all of them. As far as I'm concerned, 86 is 100%. That's right. We all would take a B+. We all would take a B+ for sure. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. When predicting which running backs are going to be a part of Auburn's 2025 class, there's really 4 names. There's 4 names. And this whole time we've assumed that there's going to be 2. I think in this conversation, we may see that there's a path to 3 because I think this class is going to be really large. They've got the scholarship room for it, Charlie5, but I believe you and I both think Alvin Henderson will be a part of this class when it's all said and done. Yes.
Yeah. If the terminology is big back and small back, I think Alvin Henderson will 100% be the small back.
Be the small back.
Smaller back.
The other small back that you mentioned is Dwayne Morris, USC commit. He's from Murfreesboro in Tennessee. 5'10", 180, similar size. He's a little bit smaller than Alvin, I believe, as far as weight goes. He may be taller, but he weighs less. The other 2 names are Shakai Mills-Knight.
Yep.
Which these are all great names for running back, by the way.
That is a great name.
And then Usman Kroma, which, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. 6 foot, 215. He looks like he's 30.
Yeah.
This is a 30-year-old man who will wreck you. Will wreck you. I mean, you just talk about a force. A force. He's from Lee County over in Georgia. So yeah, the terminology, like you said, is big back and small back. I mean,
I've been hearing a lot of with Usman. I've been hearing a lot of like a little bit more physical Kerryon Johnson type player. Like that's the kind of player that people sort of compare him to. The way he runs, the way he's smart with the way he runs, but he can be physical and run through your face, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a do-it-all guy. He's your bell cow. Like that's your bell cow running back, and that's the number 1 target on the board. And I think Auburn's got a lot of momentum for him right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much stock you want to put in like the RPM, the recruiting prediction machine that On3 has, but they've got Auburn as the favorite. It seems like Auburn has really, like you said, generated some stuff. His measurables aren't too far off from like what Cameron Artis-Payne was. I think he's a little bit more shifty than Cameron Artis-Payne when he was at Auburn. But you talk about like a more physical Kerryon. I mean, that's just, I mean, what else do you want? What else do you want?
That sounds like a cheat code, doesn't it? It sounds like the most perfect running back there could be. Like he's a guy that could be patient enough to let plays develop and then explode, or a guy that can just literally put his helmet down and run through your face, like Marshawn Lynch used to say.
Sure. Face. What do you think is the most realistic, the most likely combination of backs that'll be a part of Auburn's class this year?
I mean, as of right now, I really do think you get the top 2 guys on your board. I feel like you're moving in the right direction with Alvin. The clock's ticking on him. I think he may be trying to get back in this class. And then you have the momentum with Usman Kroma. I think even some of the Georgia folks believe Auburn leads here. I think I've seen some national analysts, maybe a Steve Wiltfong, not put in crystal ball picks or whatever, but have said, Auburn sort of like sees the momentum here. With I think Georgia's kind of got their backs locked in for this class, but I really do. As of right now, I see it being Usman Kroma and Alvin Henderson, and your consolation prizes aren't that bad either. If that were not,
I would take either of them for sure. Do you think there's a world where they take 3 running backs?
Yeah,
really.
Not 2. They won't take 2 big. I don't think they'll take 2 big backs. But Dwayne Morris is so unique. He's small, but he has a gear that neither one of these other guys have. So there is a scenario, if you really think about it, there's a scenario going into the 2025 season where you could only have 1 returning scholarship back. If one of those 2 guys edge out the other and it's the right one, the other could bolt for a starting position. Like there is a reality.
And the guys you're referring to are Jeremiah Cobb
and Damari Alston.
And Damari Alston, right?
Yeah, I mean they'll be your 2 returning backs. I mean there's a reality where one of them doesn't want to sit behind the other. Either Cobb doesn't want to sit for another year, or Damari Alston thinks I'm not going to get my shot if a younger guy jumps me. And they don't see a real pathway where they can split carries very well. There's a real reality where you could only bring back 1 running back. And I think Dwayne Morris sort of fits a niche of a guy that can do things that the other 3 on your roster can't. I mean, I could see if it works out that way where it's Alvin Henderson gets in and then you get your big back. It all depends on Alvin, which I believe is going to be in the class. So, and then do you have some spots left and you want to bring in this guy that's got that different kind of skill set? I could see a pathway.
Yeah. Then I think you have to ask the larger question, if you think that is a reality, where is that the fourth running back, is it more valuable to be a third freshman back or a portal back?
Right.
And my gut tells me a portal situation would make more sense here than 3 freshmen. But if they think Morris can be special and maybe could be a gadget guy, and you could do other things with him as well, maybe he's effective in the return game. Yeah. Then I think, then it's probably worth it. But I still think you probably have to portal at that point as well. And so it's like 5 scholarship backs. Are you cool with that in 2025?
Yeah, that would be a hard sell. That would be a hard sell. But the good news is more than likely
hard sell to who? The freshman?
Well, I think it would be a hard sell for that third freshman, and then also for the portal guy. We're assuming that this is the scenario where only one back returns. More than likely, that's not going to happen, because I think those two guys can play together well and feed off each other.
I do too.
They both do a little bit different things.
Well, I think it'd be up to Damari to make that decision, because I think Cobb will hop him this year.
Oh yeah, Cobb's the guy. Like, he is that guy, and he can do what everybody else can't all together, like all on his own. He can do a little bit of everything. So I'm with you there. But I can see a pathway. I don't think it's very likely, but I think I see a pathway where you could take 3 backs.
Sure. Yeah, interesting that they're in it for these Tennessee guys, which is kind of fun. Yeah, kind of fun. So you would say Shakai Mills-Knight is the least likely of the 4 backs we've talked about to be a part of this class?
I'd probably, because I still think we lead for. I think we're still in a good spot for Chroma. I really do. I really do think we're in a good spot for him. So he's probably the least likely.
I agree. Yeah. So all in all, most likely scenario to me is Alvin Henderson and Usman Chroma being Auburn's running backs in 2025.
Which would be unreal. What a haul.
Yeah, we take that. 100%. Who could be the next to commit and join this 2025 class? We give our predictions in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Charlie5, can you imagine? Can you imagine wagering anywhere else other than FanDuel?
I cannot, and I will not.
Doesn't even sound like an enjoyable experience unless it's with FanDuel.
Sounds awful.
Do you know what summertime means, Charlie5? Do you know? I'll tell you. It means hot baseball, the NBA Finals, and more. And you can bet on it all with FanDuel. The finals are being played right now as we record this, so that might still be going on. Not sure. But right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's a lot of free money, Charlie5. If you had $200 right now, what would you spend it on? Just real quick.
I'd deposit it straight into FanDuel.
So you would win the $200 and then just put it right back in?
Yeah, I just keep stacking it.
Yeah, that's called investing in yourself there.
Yes, bet on yourself. You can bet on yourself in FanDuel. Just keep rolling it.
Yeah, so visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Bet on yourself.
That should be their catchphrase. Bet on yourself. I love it.
FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Okay. Who could be the next to commit to the Auburn Tigers? There are several candidates. If it's a 2025 guy, there's a chance it's a 2026. If it's a 2025 guy, my bet is Herbert Scroggins, the edge rusher from Savannah, Georgia. Vastly underrated, 4-star by Rivals, which we all love in this case, 3-star everywhere else. But this is a guy who's going to shoot up rankings. I think he's just so effective. He passes the eye test more than almost anyone I've ever seen.
Well, no, my gosh. I saw him in person Saturday night, and
how would you describe him?
He is
be pretty detailed if you don't mind.
So you're talking can barely fit through a doorway wide, physically just absolutely jacked. And he just looks like a college player.
What was he wearing?
What
was he wearing?
A nice snug t-shirt and he
what size shirt do you think it was?
It probably was a 2XL and
he just spilled it out.
He just ripping it out, just ripping it apart.
Sure.
It was barely hanging on for dear life.
If you had to describe, I don't know, his forearms, what word would you use?
Girth. Let's go with that. Girth. No, he's just built right. He's built perfect for that outside linebacker. He's gonna be, 230 when he gets here, 230-ish, 6'2", 6'3", and can move. And he's just impressive. He's an impressive looking kid, and the definition of a hulking super team.
That's where I wanted you to go first.
Yeah.
Then you kind of went more detailed than I thought you would. Yeah, I mean, do you think it's unrealistic to predict him to be next in the 2025 class?
Absolutely not. I think I would, if I had to bet on FanDuel, if I had to put a bet on FanDuel, that would be my bet. I would say he'd be probably like plus 120 to be the next commit.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
There's probably like 3 guys I think that could go next. I think it'd probably be him, Alvin, or maybe like a Jacoby Ward. I think that may be one of his teammates, if I'm not mistaken.
You may be right. And then, so if you had to bet, first bet on yourself, then bet at FanDuel. But do you think it would be a 2025 player or 2026 player?
I still think it's going to be a 2025 player, but there are several 2026 guys that I think there's so much buzz around. Like you're talking some of the top players in the state of, the top players in the state of Alabama for next year. You got Hezekiah Harris. You got Tank Jones, who got crystal ball picks to come to Auburn. You got Shadarius Tootle. What a great name.
For a linebacker, are you kidding me?
Gosh, just get Toodles. Just right.
If he rocks somebody, we could say Toodaloo. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Or Toodle. You can hear
that's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun.
I mean, those are 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think, in the state next year. Like those guys, and I feel like they're right there on the edge of going ahead and jumping in. That's why I said that.
Auburn has a legit shot for like 9 of the top 10 players in the state next year.
Yes,
it's unbelievable. Bobby Cleveland is my dude. It's like that guy shouldn't be able to move like the way he does.
You know how they have weight limits, like when you're growing up and they have like weight limit divisions of football? Like he's so big, he should not be allowed to play high school football. I don't think he should be allowed. I think it should be, he's going to hurt somebody. He is going to hurt multiple people. He's an absolute monster. I don't know how close he is to being able to go ahead and pull the trigger for 2026, but the coaches are supposed to be able to call 2026 players and things like that now. That just started. And I think you're about to see some 2026 kids all on the defensive side of the ball maybe start popping off.
It's going to be, 2026 has a chance to be the best class Auburn's ever had because of the groundwork that they've already laid. Like this is the first class where he would probably tell you that they still are behind, but what they've already done as far as creating these relationships and go ahead and starting the recruiting process, it's a great situation. Yeah, it's a great situation to be in.
You're going to have probably 20 commits at the end of July for the 2025 class. And then you're already putting the pedal to the metal on the 2026 class. I mean, you could have close to, 8 to 10 commits for the 2026 class by the end of July as well, just because of how close you are with pushing some of these guys over the edge and getting them to pull the trigger. Like it's a really good July. I think the way they got this thing set up, I really do. It's going to be like commit all the way up to Big Cat Weekend, and
which is so smart. You're already seeing like JD Piquel's doing this with On3 a little bit, but I think if they play this the right way, especially if like what we talked about earlier, there are already guys that are committed to the staff, but they're slowly like bleeding it out.
Yeah.
If you play that right, leading up to Big Cat, and you have a big Cat Weekend at the end of July, you're going to have national media kind of turning their head and be like, what is going on at Auburn right now?
Yeah.
What is happening at Auburn?
And if in that time you can flip Juju along in that thing, like you're talking about a fever pitch of buzz. Like you're talking about buzz at a level we've never seen before at Auburn on the recruiting trail.
I mean, I think the buzz just turns into boog at that point.
Yeah, it's just total book. Like if everything plays out the way it seems like it can play out, like this could dwarf last year's big cat weekend, which had the Perry Thompson flip and the DeMarcus Riddick flip. Like it could dwarf that. No joke.
It didn't have the Riddick flip.
He was a couple days. He was a couple days before. I still count that.
Oh, was he?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That Malcolm Simmons committed
shortly thereafter. Yeah, like maybe that Sunday or something.
I think he was right before Perry. I think he was like right at the start of it. Yeah,
maybe so. I think you're right. All of that happened, but I'm thinking, the momentum that they're building with 2025 and 2026, it could dwarf the buzz that got.
Yeah, which is insane.
It's hard to even imagine.
Perry flipping and then they throw Hugh in the pool. Like, what's better than that?
Who's going to be the big one on? Like, there's going to be one on Big Cat like that Saturday. Who's it going to be?
Would they choreograph and set up Juju flipping on Big Cat, or do they want Juju to be done before Big Cat?
If you can get that done, that's the one you want. If he's ready to pull it, I think that's when you want it, is on that Saturday, because all the other guys are going to be that. Like people say, if Juju commits, who all could you get to come to Big Cat weekend? Hell, have you seen the list? Everybody's already coming.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's already
Good
crazy.
Point.
So get him to commit in front of him. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
That's what, if you got that in your pocket and you can make that happen, that's 100% who you get to pop on that Saturday in front of everybody, jumping in the pool. I don't see Juju being a big pool guy, but whatever you got to do.
Who in this class is most likely to throw Hugh in a pool?
Now you're putting me on the spot. From the class, I mean, my God, there's already 15 of them. So one of the offensive linemen, maybe some of the bigger guys, they'll throw them in.
Yeah, that's probably true. I can see Autry doing it.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, if he
Jordan
wants somebody
Crawford,
in the pool,
that's who it'll be. Jordan Crawford would throw Hugh across the pool.
Yeah, it's like, make sure you get him in the water, please. Yeah, like, don't hurt him
too far, because that kid is a beast.
Yeah, they all are, man.
Jordan Crawford, that's what I'm saying. Jordan Crawford is your pool guy. That's the guy who throws him in the pool.
That's a good one. Charlie5, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter, _Charlie_5, every single day on the Top Button Podcast. We'll be talking about recruiting for the foreseeable future. So it's a lot of fun right now.
Yeah, be sure to give them some love. Just search Top Button Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's also on the Auburn Daily YouTube channel. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.